Welcome! Thank you so much for joining me today. In today's video, we're going to learn about traditional yoga props and how we can use them to support ourselves in our self-care yoga practices. We're also going to learn about household items that you can use to substitute for props that you might find in a traditional yoga studio, along with a couple of common ways to use them. Let's get started. We're going to start with something simple. So starting with a yoga blanket. Now you can see this blanket here. I also have a couple that are hanging up behind me. So this is our blanket folded in thirds. This is our blanket folded in half, and then you can take this blanket and stretch it all the way out. So it's about the traditional size of a baby blanket, and really any household blanket can be substituted for a yoga blanket. So usually you're going to see yoga blankets in studios folded in thirds or folded in half. Now we use this blanket to support ourselves in our practice when maybe the floor is too hard, like underneath the knees, or when we need extra support on the spine in poses like shoulder stand. For example, if we were to fold our blanket in half and take it up to the top part of our mat, spread it out nice and thin, I can use it to support me as I roll the shoulders and the cervical spine and come up into shoulder stand. You can see that not only is the back of my head supported, but so is the upper part of my shoulders and my back. Moving on. Our next prop that we're going to look at is called a bolster. Now this is a traditional rectangular bolster. You can see it's a couple of inches thick and then quite a few inches, almost a foot wide and almost about 2 feet long. Now these bolsters can be used in numerous ways and are especially versatile in a restorative yoga practice. So when you look at the restorative yoga practice that is written in this section, you'll figure out that you can use it to support yourself in those poses where you rest for a very long time. So in poses like child's pose, we can take our bolster to the center of our mat and rest the upper body. This creates much more space and support for the body. That way we don't have to rest on the earth. We can also use our rectangular bolster for supported fish pose. In supported fish pose, we take the bolster horizontally across our mat, and then we bring ourselves to a seat. From here, we adjust our distance and then lower our shoulders down onto our bolster and allow our head to hang in the direction of the earth. We can let our knees point up to the ceiling or stretch out long. Bolsters can be replaced with thick pillows. What works really great are decorative pillows. So like those round decorative pillows or really dense like bed pillows work really, really well for this. Moving on. The next prop we're going to meet is a strap. Now straps come in all different lengths, and many of them are quite thick and sturdy. Now if you don't have a strap at your house, you can use a lot of other things. So a belt works really great, a leather belt, or even a belt to say a bathrobe will work as well. Usually we use straps to get deeper into postures that the body is not able to access easily. So it makes the poses a lot more accessible and opening. For example, if I wanted to stretch my shoulders, I might have to reach my arms above my head, and if I'm really tight in the shoulders, my fingers might not grip with each other very well. So instead, we can double up this strap and reach the arms up above the head. Now I'm able to stretch the arms from side to side and get a lot deeper into this stretch than I would have been able to without my strap. Moving on, the next props we're going to meet are yoga blocks. Now, yoga blocks are probably the most common props that you're going to see in yoga classes at home and in studio. Blocks come in a lot of different shapes and sizes. This is a thicker, wider block. They actually come in a size that's skinnier than this. If you are shopping for blocks, I strongly recommend that you get the thicker ones because they are much more supportive in your practice. Most oftentimes, blocks come in pairs of 2 because we use them in balance on both sides of the body. Now, if you don't have any blocks and you would like some support in your home practice, you might consider getting a couple of books. Maybe you have them in storage or up in the attic. Thick hardcover books work best, and you can even stack them on top of each other to get yourself some extra height. Here's a couple examples of how you can use yoga blocks to get deeper into your practice. We're going to do lizard. Now, in lizard pose, we come from a tabletop position, and we're going to take our right foot through those blocks, sending our weight forward into our front hip. So if we didn't have our blocks, our fingers have to reach down towards the floor. And if we're really tight in our hips or our inner thighs, those fingers might not ever reach. This causes a rounding of the upper back and doesn't allow for that deep stretch in the back hip. We can instead take our blocks on their medium or tall side and support ourselves by bringing the floor higher. This allows us to sink deeper into this lizard pose. We can also use blocks to stretch the shoulders by taking the blocks towards the top of our mat on their lowest side. We can drop our elbows and forearms down, drawing the hands together, and then stretch the shoulders in a supported puppy pose. The very last prop we're going to meet today is called a yoga wheel. Now, you can find yoga wheels online. Gaiam sells them, and so does Amazon. Yoga wheels are my favorite prop for opening the back body. Now, there's not a lot of things you can use at home to replace one, but if you do end up getting a yoga wheel, I promise you that you will love it. Here is an example of how to use it. I'm going to take this yoga wheel behind me, scooting myself so my low back is touching the wheel, and then I'm going to take my thumbs and press the wheel into my back. Keeping my knees bent, I'm going to start to lower my back over this wheel, using my hands to keep it from rolling. Now, depending on how open my back is going to decide how far I can drop my head. If I like, I can drag my feet in and then start to push myself up over my yoga wheel, moving the stretch lower into my back. It's really important that we come up really slow, bringing the chin to the chest, and then taking a few moments just to breathe. All right, so you have learned about different types of yoga props and how you can use them to support yourself in your self-care practice. When you practice your restorative yoga sequence today, think about how you can use props in your home to help support you and make your practice just right for you today. Thank you so much for joining me, and of course, reach out if you have questions. Namaste.